to Flory Models Daily Vlog. Here we are on Monday the 7th of September 2015. Today I've been playing with gloss. I've been working on the bike. You might be able to see we've got the fuel tank installed onto there and everything else like that. I had a small issue, shall we say, with the front fairing. You can see down here, which has had technically another coat. I found a couple of little blemishes I wasn't happy with, so we ended back sanding it back, repainting, relacquering, and I'm hoping, well, I know it is now, it is perfect. But at the time, we've said with this bike it's going to be perfect at every level. Yes, there is tiny little marks on it, but anything more than a tiny little mark from my point of view is unacceptable. So I'm going back, sanding it back and doing it again. That's why we ended up doing this panel twice compared with the other ones. Also playing with different colours and shades to give that right effect. We've got the bike down here. You can probably see we've got down in here obviously various different types of plastics, rubber on the seats, the grip, stuff like that. So I've ended up, for instance, the seat, this is number 3 attempt at this one. Very happy with it because obviously on the bike 1:1 scale, slightly different from what we've got as a bike on a sort of 1/12 scale. Originally I did it, the plastic, it just looked, well, it looked too hard. We know it's a soft cushion plastic. What I'd done before with a slight glisten to it was a little bit much. So by adding a more of a flat coat to it, it's actually knocked it down a peg. And then hopefully when this dries in about an hour's time, we can seat it on there and it'll look absolutely fantastic. But hopefully you can see there, we've got the fuel tank installed on there and everything else like that. It's really starting to look the part. Very happy with it. Decaling is going to be up next. Nothing's fixed yet. It's still all a soft fit. We can pull things off if we need to and get back in there and everything else like that. But technically we've got a few decals obviously to go onto the fairing. So we're going to put all of these on first. So we've got these guys down here, obviously Ducati on the tank. We're going to put those on, make sure they go down flawlessly, and then if we need to, lacquer over the top of them again, so then that way we've got that sort of perfect finish to it. So it looks like it's part of the tank. But technically these Ducatis and the 1199, they don't want to be total gloss, so we don't want to overcoat them if we don't have to. But obviously if we get a situation where you can see the carrier film, that's not going to be acceptable. We might have to go over them, but obviously they are a slightly bit flatter texture as they are, because technically they're stickers in real life. So we're going to try and recreate that as well. But generally all the parts, if you like, are actually done. We've got things down here like the rear lighting system. We've got the clear parts attached, used clear glues and everything else to go in there. Now, big thing is playing with lacquers and things like that. I've always had a couple of ideas with lacquers. We all dip canopies all the time and everything else like that. So to be honest, the Hawk over here, I had a bit of lacquer left over last week when I was lacquering some of these parts. So I ended up re-lacquering our Hawk. So he's very, very nice and shiny. Now, unfortunately, due to various techniques we've done on the Hawk and everything else, he has been quite a demo for doing gloss work in the past. We actually had, well, the canopy was horrible. It was scratched, it had overspray on it and everything else like that. So what I ended up doing, I just had a time. It's a shame I didn't actually record it. But actually what I've done is I ended up sanding it, polishing it and all the bits and pieces. Well, not actually polishing it, but just sanding it all down. And then I wondered how good you could make a crystal clear canopy be by airbrushing it. Instead of traditionally dipping it in your lacquer and everything else like that, I decided with this particular one, what I was going to do was try and actually lacquer it in the same way. Okay, so the point of fact for that was also the actual screen canopy down here, the front one, was horrible. And I mean really horrible. So I thought, well, look, nothing to lose here. I'm going to go straight over the top. So actually what I did was I lacquered the canopy in place, okay, just to see how it would go. And it seemed to work really well. But then obviously I had to do the inside, so I flipped it over and did the inside. There was no real preparation, if you like, i.e. it was just I didn't even use the white side on my sanding sponges, and you know, guys who know these know I can get it down to a mirror with it. We just used the blue side and we've gone over it. And to be honest, I am really more than happy. I was never expecting it to come out as clear as that. Also, the great thing about this is handleable, dryable, and everything else within an hour. Whereas before, if you're dipping it, let's face it, you're going to leave it 24 hours before you go near it. Then you want to leave it a week if you want to mask over it. This I'm going to leave overnight and then I'm going to try and mask over the top of it just to see how good it is. But the all important thing is, technically I can touch this. I only did this literally about an hour and a half ago. So you could decal then lacquer after it. So you don't have to do this thing of masking because you don't technically need to. Now I know what you're thinking, obviously that's great for gloss work, and I agree as well. So if you did want to go with a flat coat, obviously you would then airbrush this first down and do it again. Now this is sort of in my early stages of doing it and playing with it and all the rest of it. So it probably needs a little bit more refinement But I'm definitely thinking now, instead of dipping my canopies, I'm going to airbrush them. Now, does this work with acrylics? Don't know, never tried it particularly. And to be honest, I'm never a fan of deep gloss finishes with acrylics. This is not acrylic, this is lacquer. I don't think you would ever get a finish quite like this on a normal standard acrylic finish. I think acrylics give a lot more orange peel effect and stuff like that. This, to be honest, has no orange peel on it. And I think I've beaten my nemesis of orange peel, purely because I think it's just a case of time learning it, something I haven't spent a lot of time with, but certainly doing Ducati here and going through all the motions with this guy, I've learnt now about the way the paint goes down, i.e. putting it down thicker, heavier and at a higher air pressure than I think traditionally you might think. I was always under the impression that, to be honest, when you're doing gloss coats and stuff like that, it should be a low air pressure and a very thin paint, and you build up the layers gently. With this guy, to be honest, I'm actually upping my air pressure, thicker paint obviously to allow that, and putting it down thicker in one. So on this one, to be honest, when I redid the panel, the front one, obviously I went down to plastic again on the white. It's only had 2 coats now, whereas traditionally on these, because I was getting used to it and working it up, they had 3, 4, 5, 7 coats in some cases and brought it up gently. Now I'm off, and actually I do think that front fairing is better than the others because there's less particles in it, because there's had a less chance of dust getting onto it and all those different areas like that. So if you are into glossing all your bikes and everything else, you really want to see this one. The next part of this one is up now, so you've got part 4 is up on the site tonight, and that is basically going to get you almost to the paintwork. Okay, literally we stop as I'm about to actually put it on. Sorry we've run out of time on this particular episode, because obviously they're half-hour episodes, but the next one is going to be talking all about the gloss work and everything else like that. But because I got the gloss out and everything else, it was a case of, hey look, let's give old well, this is Buster too, if you like, he's seen a lot of action, we'll give him another go. And I wanted to have an experiment with glossing on canopies and seeing how they came out. Really happy how that came out, a lot better than I ever thought. And to be honest, you get carried away when you get going with the lacquer, and I got my little egg guy out because I had leftover lacquer. I made up a bit too much. You'll remember this one from 5 years ago, but it's my little egg plane entry. So he's had a fresh coat of lacquer and is looking very shiny and everything else like that, purely to get used to how far you can spray lacquer down and your gloss coats before it runs. And I have to say, I haven't got a single run. I do have to thank a couple of people, Matt for doing the actual paint work and talking me through it a little bit, and my mate Russ, who's a painter as well, who's talking me through really upping my air pressure, putting down thicker paint, because I think that is the secret, and it's definitely cured my nemesis of orange peel, because I haven't got it at all in any of these parts and anything else like that. So there we go, that's about it for today. I've been learning with lacquers. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do my next build, maybe if it is the Starfighter or the Mozzie, I will lacquer the canopy to show you exactly what it is. But what I might do is get another canopy just to show you how easy and what a great effect you can get with just lacquering canopies, instead of going through the normal thing of actually having to polish them up and everything else and then dipping them and all the hassles that come with it. Because obviously the great thing and the advantage of airbrushing your canopy clear is there's no pooling on the corners, and let's face it, we all get a little bit of that sometime, so this has cured that no end. So there we go, Ducati part 4 is up on the site now, and obviously I'll be talking about lacquering and everything with you in the future, but definitely I'm learning a lot this week, and definitely learned a lot putting down gloss work and everything else like that. So till tomorrow, where it's question and answer day, so don't forget, if you've got a question, we're going to carry some of the ones over from that we didn't actually do on last week's live show, but technically it's like the Ask Phil Tuesday, if you like. No live show tomorrow night, it's just me. So what I'm going to do is sit here and go through a load of your questions and answer them as best as I can. So if you have got one, usual thing, contact me page on the actual site, and just put in there as the title or the subject, and there is a, you know, Tuesday's questions, and then I'll see it immediately. I can just print it off, bring them down here tomorrow afternoon, and then I can go through it with you. So there we go, that's it for today, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.